Right now in Fox 61, Connecticut's news station, jury selection set to begin for the state trooper charged in the shooting death of a teenager. Fox 61's Angelo Bavaro is taking us outside the courtroom with more on what we can expect.
A new report has criticized the Department of Children and Families after a baby overdosed while a parent was being investigated. We'll have those details ahead.
I could lose the home I love on a whim.
A proposal to expand eviction protections has tenants and landlords divided. We're taking you inside the hours-long debate. That's coming up for you at 8:30.
Also, people with multiple food allergies now have a new treatment option. We're going to have more on how this alternative might provide better relief. That's coming up at 8:30 in today's Health Watch.
All local, all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. It's 8 o'clock. Glad you're with us. I'm Tim Lammers.
And I'm Erica Arias. Hopefully your Wednesday is off to a great start so far. We've got a little sunshine out there.
We do.
Let's take a live look out there. Checking out the views all across our state. We've got Hartford and Mohegan Sun. Nice sunshine there. Just a few wispy clouds out there, right, Matt?
Fair weather stuff not causing any trouble. No, just adding to the beaut of a Wednesday morning around here. Chilled temperatures, though. Some of you down to like a 10 to 12 this morning. We'll check out the numbers in a moment, but it's still mild for the most part later on this afternoon, a couple degrees above normal. At the end of the week, may have a little rain, may have even a little flake or two. We'll talk about that coming up. But on the satellite radar picture, a very light wind out of the east becoming southeasterly today. Scene is quiet. That's the way we like it. Rebounding the numbers slowly but surely. 15 now in Torrington and Willimantic, 21 in Hartford, 27 is not bad in New Haven, but Danbury 10 below that, 17, which is where Rachel is, and Keith is recovering after doing that thing around the balance beam there. Wow. 19, we'll double it and then some to 40 for the kids, the elementary school students getting off the bus later on this afternoon. Forecast for the weekend coming up. By then, Symphony Privet, I think Keith will have recovered. Did you see that move?
I didn't. I didn't catch it.
Oh, it was the judges in the Olympics would have given him something. It was fun.
Well, let me go check on my buddy after this. All right, we've got another update for you on how the Wednesday morning commute is shaping up. Starting off with this incident we're watching out in Lisbon this morning. Right now, Route 138 is closed in both directions due to a crash involving a tractor trailer, or the tractor trailer rather, running into a railroad bridge overpass. So that's going to take quite a bit of time to clean up out there. Plan ahead. Right now, we are taking a live look out in the capital city. Good morning to those of you out here in Hartford. Seeing a bit of a backup on I-91 near the Jennings Road area. So pack some patience as you head out the door. Wrapping up with a quick look at our drive times. We are seeing several delays this morning. What we just checked out on 91. And heading into the Hartford Tunnel this morning, also seeing some minor delays reported on Route 2. So make sure you pack some patience as you head out the door this morning. We'll have your next update coming up at 8:30.
Happening today, jury selection expected to begin in the case of a Connecticut state trooper accused of shooting and killing a 19-year-old man in 2020.
Yeah, this case is the first time in 17 years that a Connecticut police officer was arrested following a deadly shooting while on duty. Fox 61's been following the case since the beginning. Let's get you out now to Angelo Bavaro. He's live outside the courthouse in Milford. Good morning.
Tim, Erica, good morning. And North has pleaded not guilty to a charge of first-degree manslaughter. His legal team expected to argue inside of this courthouse that North was protecting his fellow officers. But the legal team for that family of the 19-year-old Mubarak Solomon argues that this was an execution. Now take a look. This is police dash cam and body camera video from that night back in January of 2020. According to police, Solomon had stolen a car and led officers on a high-speed chase on I-95. Solomon crashed that car in West Haven, and that's where North fired 7 shots into the driver's window at close range. North told investigators he fired because Solomon had a knife and was, quote, moving and holding that knife in an aggressive manner. Now, North also said it appeared to him that Solomon was preparing to attack officers on the other side of the car. However, Inspector General Robert Devlin, whose office investigates all uses of deadly force by police, concluded that this shooting was not justified. In that 133-page report, Devlin writing that neither North nor any other person was in imminent danger as Solomon was in the car by himself. The IG writing, quote, "A reasonable police officer would have realized that the police were in control of the situation and the opportunity existed to take a tactical pause to explore the use of methods other than deadly force." Now, in the years since this happened, we've heard from the Solomon family and their lawyers, as well as the police union, speaking in defense of North.
That's always the most difficult thing for any police officer out there, to make those split-second decisions. And you know, when we feel that the decision was justified and done according to our training, we're in support of our members that get involved in these situations.
Brian North has to be held accountable for killing my son.
Now, after being charged back in 2022, North was placed on paid administrative leave and his police powers were suspended. We are expecting to hear from the Solomon family before this jury selection process begins this morning. Of course, we'll get you any updates as we get them. We are live in Milford. I'm Angelo Bavaro, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Well, an innocent baby in New Haven becomes a victim of the nation's opioid epidemic. But a big question a lot of people are asking is, could his death have been prevented?
The child died back in June after being exposed to fentanyl, and now there's new information revealing some failures by the Department of Children and Families that may have played a role in that death. Fox 61's Lindsay Kane is here with us with more on what that report said.
Hi, good morning. That 10-month-old was the 11th child to die of fentanyl in our state since 2020. In the same time frame, more than 30 children nearly died from fentanyl exposure. The Office of the Child Advocate investigated Marcelo Meadows' death and says it found several shortcomings in the way the case was handled with DCF. Marcelo Meadows died on June 28th in New Haven from ingesting a combination of drugs, including fentanyl. Just 3 weeks before that, DCF closed a case with the family, despite the warning signs OCA says were ignored. OCA says case records show no plan for reliable fentanyl testing for either of Marcelo's parents and a lack of documentation and response to positive drug tests. Marcelo was born already having been exposed to opioids. There were ongoing concerns regarding his mother, Alexandra Polino's substance abuse. She also had outstanding warrants for violating probation that weren't served until after Marcelo died. The report shows Polino tested positive for fentanyl multiple times. A provider inaccurately reported Polino had successfully completed treatment. DCF releasing a statement that says, in part, the department assessed, along with an intensive in-home provider, the children in the home as being safe and thus ended its involvement with the family. But since then, DCF says it has improved their policies, including assessing child safety in families with substance misuse, enhancing fentanyl testing, coordinated communication and information sharing with providers, and addressing provider staff turnover, as well as strengthening the engagement of fathers in family situations. State lawmakers are now questioning how basic guidelines weren't followed in Marcelo's case and are hoping to prevent future tragedies by making sure state systems don't repeat mistakes. Marcelo's mother, Alexandra Polino, was arrested in September and faces manslaughter charges. She's been out on bond, but is scheduled to appear in court next week. Jim and Erica will send things back over to you.
Lindsay, we appreciate that report. All right, it's 9 minutes past 8 o'clock here this Wednesday morning. A Stamford police officer who's accused of hitting and killing a pastor is due in court today. Officer Zachary Lockwood is accused of driving 20 miles an hour over the speed limit when he hit Reverend Tommy Jackson. This was on Wire Mill Road in Stamford back in July. State police said Lockwood was responding to an unrelated car crash at the time. Reverend Jackson was a pastor at the Rehoboth Fellowship Church in Stamford.
In the midst of a controversial rate hike proposal, representatives from United Illuminating delivered a message to the office of Attorney General William Tong. The company says 300 unionized employees wrote letters to the Attorney General asking for him to honor verbal agreements to employees. They argue that failure to support United Illuminating means failing to support its workers. They also requested a meeting with Tong to voice concerns about state energy regulators. We've reached out to Tong's office for comment, but have yet to hear back.
All right. Coming up, as the war between Israel and Hamas continues, people in our state remain very divided on what should happen next. Fox 61's Brooke Griffin shares how one local Jewish community is reacting to more calls for a ceasefire.
And prosecutors combed through hours-long videos of Michelle Troconis' final interview with police. We're going to have more on what she claims happened the day of Jennifer's disappearance. That's coming up for you at 8:30.
Also later this hour, we'll take a pit stop in Danbury for thrills and spills, which we've already seen.
Yes.
It's all part of our winter bucket list tour. You won't want to miss it.
Keith and Rachel are having a blast there. I want to go. And as we head to break, we're taking a live look here, checking out the view from our Hartford City Cam. A lot going on. If you have to head out, have a great day. If you're sticking with us, we're glad to have you, and we'll be right back. Two men are facing charges in connection to last week's shooting at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl celebration. Dominic Miller and Lindell Mays each face multiple charges, including second-degree murder. Court documents released yesterday say the men were strangers who got into an argument before firing their guns. One person died in the shooting and 22 others were hurt. Both suspects are in the hospital with injuries from the incident.
Well, this morning, police in Texas are investigating what they're calling the murder of an 11-year-old girl after her body was found yesterday in a river. Officials had started searching for Audrey Cunningham last Thursday after learning that she never made it on the school bus that morning. Police said a family friend named Don Stephen McDougal admitted to leaving with Cunningham that morning, but they're saying he is refusing to say what happened afterwards. Right now, McDougal is being charged with capital murder. He's currently in jail on an unrelated criminal charge. A ceasefire resolution regarding the Israel-Hamas war has again failed to pass in the United Nations.
Yeah, this happening as the United Nations Food Agency puts aid deliveries into the Gaza Strip on hold. They say things are just becoming too dangerous. The World Food Program says conditions aren't safe for deliveries. Several trucks have been looted and a driver was beaten. Heavy fighting and airstrikes have flared in areas of northern Gaza. Israeli military officials have ordered an evacuation in Gaza's city's southern edge.
Meanwhile, the United States vetoed a widely supported United Nations resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza, not because they don't want a ceasefire, but the U.S. is pushing for its own resolution that would support a temporary ceasefire linked to the release of all hostages. They're worried that this latest resolution could interfere with that. This was the third time that the U.S. vetoed a Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire. All right, now to a Fox 61 follow-up. Some people showed support for a ceasefire for the war in Gaza. This is in Hamden. We told you yesterday morning that the entire Hamden Legislative Council was set to vote on a symbolic resolution.
Yeah, people in the community had a lot to say about it. First, they rallied outside Memorial Town Hall. And then when the meeting began, they took turns speaking during a public comment session that stretched into today. Fox 61's Brooke Griffin has been following the local ceasefire calls for weeks. She's in Hamden right now. And Brooke, did the council ever actually vote on the resolution?
No, they even never really got to that part. They gave everybody a chance to speak, which took a little over 4 hours. They went into recess at 12:30 this morning, finally cutting everybody off and just making that meeting come to an end. So they never even got to the voting portion of that. But we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute as far as where that leaves them. The Hamden Legislative Council is the fourth Connecticut community to propose a symbolic ceasefire resolution. They're joining Windsor, New Haven, and Bridgeport in that effort. Last night, a rally was held before the council meeting with dozens of people in attendance, causing the meeting to actually begin about an hour late. It was supposed to begin at 7. It started around 8 o'clock instead. Those people packed into the council chambers as the meeting started. The public comment to discuss the ceasefire resolution quickly began, but then it continued for more than 4 hours until it got shut down. Those comments got heated and even interrupted at times as people both for and against that agenda item spoke up.
If the supporters of this resolution really cared about Palestinians, they would recognize how Hamas hijacked. I want to speak.
You can hear there that it did get pretty loud, and at times people were actually able to get a few words out. They were able to share their opinion on that issue, but there was a large divide on people who do and do not support the resolution.
we need to have all hands on deck. We need to be working at the federal level, the state level, the local level, the community level, in our homes, in our families, to educate each other on what's going on and to discuss this.
And it is offensive, it is one-sided, and all it doesn't do anything to help bring peace in the Middle East. All this does is divide this community.
And again, no vote was ever actually taken last night on that ceasefire resolution, but it's possible that it could come back up next Monday. The fourth Monday of every month here in Hampden is set aside for any agenda items that maybe were brought up earlier in the month and then they didn't quite get to them or maybe didn't finish them. So it's possible that we could see the resolution brought back up in their meeting on Monday. We'll, of course, be following that, and we'll bring that to you as we find out more information. In Hampden, Brooke Griffin, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Brooke, thank you. It is 8:18. This morning, Senate Democrats will unveil some bills that are focused on health care in our state. Those will focus on care for state residents, paid sick days, and prescription drug affordability. They have an announcement that's scheduled for 10 o'clock this morning at the state Capitol building.
Now, the Fox 61 Weather Watch with meteorologist Matt Scott.
All right, good to have you along on this Wednesday where we're talking about a chilled start, but have no fear, temperatures are actually going to get above normal later on today by just a couple of degrees, but we'll take it. As a matter of fact, building the numbers nicely over the next few, 42, 44, 46. Tomorrow morning, a little better. By Thursday, we've got some changes in the forecast, changes that'll set up a bigger change temperature-wise in time for the weekend. In the meantime, satellite radar picture is quiet, a very light wind out of the north and the east, fairly calm this morning. Bigger picture, do you see any trouble on the board? A couple of stray rain showers over Chicago. Yes, February, Chicago, rain. Temperatures in Chicago getting upwards of 60 degrees today. There ain't no snow in that forecast. 21 in the capital city right now, 27 in New Haven. Your 8 a.m. temperatures finally rebounding. Willimantic, Torrington getting up to 15 after starting the morning between 10 and a dozen. Same deal in Danbury at 17. It's much better on the shoreline, 27 to 30 degrees right now in Chester. So milder air eventually building in over the next few days. That's the pattern. Ahead of our next frontal boundary, usually get a southwesterly wind, and we'll start to see that take over. Now, here comes, I don't want to say it's trouble, but there may be a little snow associated with this incoming front overnight Thursday into Friday. If we get some more likely of a mix, it won't really do much trouble. Temperatures at the surface are going to be close to freezing. There may be some slippery spots before it all changes to rain, and potentially a decent amount of rain coming through on Friday. Behind it, I mentioned a bigger change for the weekend. Colder air coming in will really send this buildup in temperatures packing for a brief spell. Temperatures getting into the lower 40s. We should be at 40 for a high, so just about there with a light wind becoming southerly. For tomorrow, low to almost mid 40s with a few more clouds thickening up in a late evening, and that's part of the reason why we don't think this is going to be much trouble Thursday night into Friday, because with the clouds are a blanket. The blanket keeps the heat, and as a result, the temperatures stay a little too warm for any real trouble at the surface. But look at the drop in numbers. Saturday's high 30, thankfully only a one-day break. Look at these numbers, Tim Lammers, into the 50s as we start to wind down February. 8:21, that's your forecast.
I say this a lot, but I'll say it again. I'll take it. Thank you. UConn is urging Husky fans to be cautious ahead of March Madness. We're going to have details on some scams that basketball fans might be caught up in. It's coming up at 8:30. It is 8:25. Let's take a look at news from around the world this morning. And we're going to start in Albania, where thousands of protesters held an anti-government protest accusing the cabinet of corruption. Protesters threw stones and flares yesterday at police officers in the capital city of Tirana. Opposition leaders have regularly disrupted parliament sessions. They're pushing for more investigations into what they're calling cases of corruption. Those cases primarily involve accusations surrounding Prime Minister Edi Rama and other top officials. This protest you're seeing eventually ended relatively peacefully, although not with some fire. South Korean officials have ordered thousands of striking doctors to return to work immediately. About 7,800 medical interns and residents walked off their jobs to protest the government's push to recruit more medical students. Doctors' groups say universities aren't ready to offer quality education to thousands of students. The walkouts have led to numerous cancellations of surgeries and other treatments at hospitals. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is partnering with international experts to clean up a huge oil spill. It happened just 2 weeks ago. A barge from Panama capsized, creating a major oil spill contaminating a lot of water nearby. At least 2 schools there have been closed because of this spill. Crews from U.S. companies TNT Salvage and QT Environmental will both begin helping in the cleanup process this week. All right, still to come on Connecticut's news station, a heated debate at our state capitol last night as tenants and landlords are at odds over the possible expansion of no-fault evictions. We'll take you inside the hours-long legislative hearing next. And in today's Health Watch, a popular treatment for Parkinson's disease could help people battling severe depression. We'll have more on how it works ahead.